Welcome back. Another NASCAR Fantasy Fastlane. The discussion about fantasy racing, prop bets if you play them. Might be talk about a little Vegas odds. There's a lot of conversation on the couch. Feelings get hurt. Feelings were so hurt last week in a head-to-head bet with RJ and Russell that RJ didn't even show up this week.
He couldn't take it.
What happened? Give the listeners a replay of the bet.
RJ was so confident in Clint Bowyer last week. It was a head-to-head bet, and Bowyer went out. What engine issue?
Lap 1. I mean, he didn't retire lap 1, but it didn't run from lap 1.
And he was so adamant that Kurt Busch was not going to finish better than him, and Kurt Busch comes in 6th. Clint Bowyer, 38.
You see this? You see the pause? I'm right. Is what that pause was.
He's like, let me just bask in this now.
So listen, I want people to know this is the first time I'm rocking the hat for a couple of reasons. One, baseball season's kicking off, big Red Sox fan, but because it has the clover on it. St. Patrick's Day. I did one of those, you put your saliva, send it off, they tell you your DNA type thing. I'm like, I didn't know I was any Irish. I'm like 20-something% Irish, which answers a whole nother beer drinking conversation. But so St. Patty's Day, 261 points over here, 261 career best. Kyle Busch in every bonus. Really, let me. I had Brad, Kyle, Joey, Blaney. The only kind of snafu I had was Kyle Larson and/or Jimmie Johnson. I made a mistake. I left Kyle Larson in. I could have put Jimmy in. Same amount of points for usages. But it was a huge week. You had a huge week, too.
I was at 243 points. I didn't pick Kyle for all my bonus points. I think I had Harvick stage 1. And I had Ford as the manufacturer because I always flip-flop.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So if I have a Toyota winner, I'll do Ford or things like that. So, but I had a good week. 243 points, not bad.
Well, I will say 261 points on fantasy didn't make up for the -6 in the props, but we'll get to that. That's how that happened. I don't know. I think I just clicked all the wrong buttons, basically. But you had a big week too, Russell?
I was 256, just behind you.
256.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about the Island?
Not my worst. 208, and I completely forgot to make any bonus picks. So,
Christian,
all right. I mean,
over
look,
200
you
with
don't
no bonus
you don't
picks.
get extra credit for that, right? It's not going to bump me up in the standings because I said, hey, guys, forgot to make some picks. But I just wanted to provide some context for you guys and the listeners that this 208 is not as bad as your standard 208.
You can't wear a David Pearson shirt if you're going to put in that much effort. You got to try a little harder if you're going to wear that T-shirt.
That's fair.
All right.
I don't have a good comeback. I agree.
So let's talk Fontana. Okay, everybody had a good week. I think it's because everyone that we expected to run up front did. Qualifying was an absolute disaster. It'll be interesting to see what NASCAR does for those who didn't see it or haven't basically been living under a rock. No one ran in the final round. This is not the place we're going to debate why or how silly it is. But so that put Austin Dillon on the pole. I didn't not have him in my pick, so I missed the pole winner. The race itself, though, pretty straightforward. All the great guys that we thought would run up front did. Bowyer's engine trouble perhaps was the only real surprise or fantasy knock. Kurt Busch came through strong. Kyle Larson kind of had a little damage, and so did Martin Truex, and I think that kind of hurt both of them. What was that?
I was just saying he was shaky.
Yeah, shaky. I was the same way. So I was like watching, trying to decide Jimmie Johnson, Kyle Larson. In the end, it didn't matter. They ran about the same. But that was Fontana. This is my favorite week of the year. My favorite track, the best racetrack NASCAR runs at all year long, the half-mile Paperclip in Martinsville, Virginia. When you grow up at the Saturday Night Short Track, this is Saturday Night Short Track Racing NASCAR Cup Series version, right? You go there. I don't hear about rules. I don't want to hear about spoiler. I don't want to hear about splitter. It's pushing, beating, banging. The spring race actually seems pretty tame compared to the fall race, if you can say tame. So we're going to jump right into it. I think we're going to have to talk about the big names, right? So how can we not talk about Kyle Busch? I've used him 4 times already. Feel pretty good about my 4 uses because he's scoring a lot of points. The question is, the numbers would say Martinsville's a yes. Russell, where do you stand on Kyle Busch?
Oh, he's an absolute must-start. Top 5 the last 7 races there. Adam Stevens and him there are incredible. What's it? 2.8 average finish with those two together at Martinsville.
He just changed my strategy just like that.
Yeah.
Because I was not going to have Kyle Busch at all because I need to save the usages. But now I think I'm going to put him in my garage.
Well, and I don't know how much stock you put in momentum, but for him winning
If you
2
do,
races
then
in a row,
right.
that's as much momentum as you're going to get. And couple that with his strong stats at Martinsville going in, I kind of agree with Russell that he's a must-start.
So you don't think after 200 wins he's just going to put his feet up, say, I got 200, I'm done? No?
I think if Kyle Busch was going to do that, we would have seen that from him a while ago.
All right.
Well, and one more thing on him.
Look, he's stacked at the gills with Kyle Busch stuff.
So we've had 4 races there with stages. His worst finish in a stage there is 4th. So
the listeners, let's just remind everyone. I think everyone knows, but we can never remind everyone enough. Fantasy points are awarded the same way drivers are awarded points, which basically means you score points if you finish in the top 10 of the stages, score points at the end of the race. On a side note, that's one thing I do love about this fantasy game is, in football and other sports, it's different scoring. It has to be. But here, it's basically the same thing that's important to the teams are important to us as fantasy players. So what you're saying is he's almost a lock for stage points. Mm-hmm. If Russell ever had the jinx, he just did it. The guy will have a flat, like lap 3. And when he does it, I'm going to tweet that it was Twitterless Russell. All right, well, let's stick at the Joe Gibbs Racing camp because I think there's another one that has to be talked about. If Kyle Busch is a must start, where does Denny Hamlin fall? Because the guy's won at Martin. He has more clocks than I have bedrooms. So, right, the guy has 5 Martinsville wins. He has, grandfather clocks were grandfather clocks. Winless last year, wins the Daytona 500. Are you a Denny Hamlin fan heading to Martinsville?
I like Denny Hamlin. When you look at Martinsville, one of the drivers you think of is Denny Hamlin looking in. And his most recent stats haven't been as strong. He's still been pretty consistent. Mm-hmm. You haven't seen him get that win since 2015, I believe. But I think he could be a player on Sunday. So I like him heading into the weekend. Obviously, a lot of time that I'll have to see how he's running throughout the weekend, but I like him going in.
And I think when I look at Denny, while I'm not going to be as bullish that he's going to be the guy to beat at Martinsville, I do feel you got to have 5 guys, and I think he can run in the top 5, which makes him a pretty solid pick.
Right.
So,
and stage points again for him. He won stage 1 the last 2, both races there last year, and second in another one and 5th in the other. So another points day for him.
Well, if you're thinking about Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, I am completely out of the boat of Erik Jones when it comes to Martinsville. Momentum driver, talented guy. He's going to run good at places this year. Never been in the top 10 at Martinsville, which surprised me because he is kind of a late model guy, you would think. But I'm telling you, the light has to go on. I remember going there in early 90s with a test with Jeff Gordon, and I don't know how many laps we ran. It felt like 2,000, but we just ran, and nothing we changed made a difference. And all of a sudden, he literally picked up like 15 100s, which doesn't sound like much, but at Martinsville's a lot. And he came in, he's like, I've been driving it all wrong. New plan. And like from that moment forward, we won all the time there. And it's as simple as I think it's you got to almost try less, right? You got to be very patient, let the track work. I'm not sure Erik Jones has settled into that yet. So I'm avoiding Erik Jones. Does anyone on the couch disagree?
No, I'm avoiding him.
So he's got to be in your lineup over there then if I think he's an avoid because you and I are opposite on everything. You're quiet on Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, there's just not much else for me to add. On Denny and Kyle, I'm locking them both in for everything you guys said. Those are easy, and I think Jones, as you laid out, is an easy avoid for me. There's just way too many other guys in the field, some names that you guys will get to, way too many other guys who have really strong Martinsville records to consider. There's beyond 5 or 6 guys that you can play with, so Jones just isn't even on the radar.
So I think this is the struggle because I think an easy lineup this week, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski. They're easy, right? 2 Gibbs guys, 2 Penske guys. They've both been great all year. But the problem goes back to the strategy, right? Are you going to burn those? Because if you have them all in, while you could have an out-of-the-park day, if there is an accident or multiple accidents, you can only get one out of your lineup, so you're kind of stuck with usages. So I think, right, well, we could go through them all, right? But is there anything that says you wouldn't start Brad? No. Anything said you wouldn't start Logano?
No.
Okay, so there gives you Kyle, Denny, Brad, Logano. I'm going to shut my phone off. That's an interesting thing. Sorry, it's ringing in the middle of this. So you have those big 4 for sure. The question is, are you going to start all 4 of those?
No.
For what reason? Like, why?
This is
more
more
such
of
an easy pick, why?
It's more of a wild card race, though, for exactly what you just said. So, you can get a lap down early, and we have a lot of people to finish on the lead lap there. You can get damage real easy. I think it's more of a wild card race where you could save those guys for more of a predictable race, if you will.
All right. Are you on the same plan, or are you all in?
I'm not going to start Logano, and not because I don't think he'll run well, but because I have used him. Let's see, how many times have I used Joey? I've used him. Well, I've only used him twice, but I still get nervous about using all those guys, like you said, putting all those strong guys in my lineup for one race and take a chance on something happening to them. Because I think Kyle Busch Brad Keselowski are kind of must starts when you look at Martinsville. So I don't want to take those guys out, but I also want to supplement some guys in there that maybe I haven't or won't need as much in the rest of the year.
Well, and you're still working your way down the list, right? I assume you're going to get to another group of guys who are still sort of name brand guys, but aren't always going to be your top picks at a lot of the other tracks we'll get to.
What's your name?
Those are the cluster. I mean, look, we haven't talked Chase yet. We haven't really talked Boyer yet.
I think those two. So when I have my starts, right? It's Brad, Denny, Kyle, Logano, but the other two guys who numbers would say should be in your lineup are those two you just mentioned. I'm telling you, the island over there is sharpening his pencil.
It's thanks to this podcast. Thank you guys. All you fans, pay attention. Watch the full videos.
Christian, we might have to invite him to the couch once. So Chase Elliott and Clint Boyer. Chase Elliott, 3 top 10s in the last 4 races there, and not to mention the one that wasn't. He got wrecked from the lead.
Denny Hamlin, right?
Yeah, just Google Chase Elliott wreck at Martinsville. It's worth watching the video. And then you have Clint Boyer, who won this race last year. Probably a big breakthrough win for him at Stewart-Haas Racing. Coming off a broken engine, and really, I don't want to say he's not been good, but he's just not been like polished this year, right? It's been a little up and down for Boyer all year.
So does that worry about both of those guys? Does that worry you at all? Their success this year versus Martinsville?
Let me be clear. I think Chase Elliott will run for the win. He'll be a top 5 car. I don't think Clint Boyer will. I think he'll be good, but I think he's going to be like a 3rd to 7th or 8th place guy. So that's a quality use for Clint Boyer, I think. I think this is my new strategy this year. I'm going to be the guy that starts the Boston Marathon on a sprint. And I know y'all are going to catch me, but I'm going to look good for the first mile. So I think that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to use up all my guys. So I'm going with a lot of big hitters this week. So where do you stand on Chase Elliott then?
I'm in on him.
You're in on Chase?
For exactly what you said before.
How about Clint? I mean, he won you the bet.
I'm out on Clint.
Really?
You're a finicky guy, right?
Really?
He messes up last week to win you the bet, and you won't even support him at his good tracks.
But his record this year is not good.
It is not. It is not good.
There's 2 Stewart-Haas cars, and then there's 2 other Stewart-Haas cars this year.
Do you think that Martinsville
is cold?
Mathematically, it's accurate, though. Yeah.
Thank you, Christian.
There's 4 Stewart-Haus cars.
I don't know if that made me smile, laugh, or concerned that we got some math coming from Christian in the corner, but that's fine.
He's paying attention. Listen.
All right.
But do you think Martinsville is just kind of a different animal than some of these other tracks that we've looked at?
Completely.
Is it fair to say, well, he hasn't run well all year?
So here's the thing. Here's my question. When Clint Boyer drives up to Martinsville Saturday morning, walks through the tunnel to put his fire suit on, is he going to walk through the tunnel with things just aren't going right, we need to get it turned around? Or is he going to walk in the tunnel with, I'm so glad I'm here because I won here last year? And I don't know that answer, but that's really the question, right? Because no matter the year, no matter how bad the cars I worked on ran, when I walked through that tunnel at Martinsville, I walked up the other side with a cup of coffee in the cool Virginia area, thankful we were there, because I knew that week whether we were wrong on aero, wrong on gearing, wrong on power, whatever it was, none of that mattered. This was like a refresher for me. This was a brand new start to every season when I got to Martinsville. So the question is, how is Clint Boyer going to look at that? I don't know. I would not have picked him last year, and he came out and did it. So I think that's really the question. Maybe you should follow Clint Boyer's social media. We could get like a tell of the Clint Boyer emotional scale for Sunday. That might be a tell. Who knows? But I'm torn on Clint. I really am. So I think those are the big starts, right? Those are the 6 numbers would say they're the best. To review them real quick, it's Penske teammates Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Gibbs Racing teammates of Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. We have the lone Chevrolet in the group, Chase Elliott, and the Ford of Clint Boyer from Stewart-Haas Racing. So if you put those 6 as your front runners, that means somebody has to be bumped out. Oh, I see. You can just step in. You don't have to raise your hand. It's not middle school.
So we haven't mentioned Jimmie Johnson at Martinsville. Is that a little concerning to you?
What does stats say? Do I have to say it again?
That he's really good at Martinsville.
1 out of 3 pigs will build their house out of brick. Because I can use the quote again if you want. Let's go right to Jimmie Johnson. Go ahead. You brought him up.
How are you going to discount 9 wins there?
Well, I'm going to say he's not finished better than 12th since his last win in 2016.
But you said walking into Martinsville could be a whole different start of the year.
Yeah, so maybe I'll drive up Saturday morning and walk in with Jimmy, see how he looks.
See how he's walking?
How do you feel about Kevin Mindering at Martinsville? Does that worry you that he was in the Xfinity Series the last several years and hasn't run at Martinsville?
Martinsville. So Kevin is a brilliant guy, but it's still really old school, and that's where. Not that you're going to hear me knock on Kevin much, but when I look at what he's so good at, it's putting a car on a nice aero platform, things like that. And to be quite honest, the reason Hendrick Motorsports ran so well at Martinsville, in my opinion, for all these years is because it was a Daytona 500 to Hendrick Motorsports. They were so good everywhere else. Brand new short track cars were always built. And very simply, when you are good at the mile and a halves, you then can put effort on Martinsville. When you're off like Hendrick Motorsports is, I know everybody thinks, well, they should put extra effort into Martinsville. I'm like, yeah, but why? Because they have to go everywhere else. So I think that their lack of performance is going to hurt into Martinsville. Because I think, man, it just takes a lot. And I know everybody's like, well, Chase, you said Chase is going to run good there. I don't know. I have to go off recent success. And right now, listen, I'm not avoiding Jimmie Johnson. He actually might be in my garage. Because, listen, I mean, he has won there how many times?
9.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of wins. And Jimmie Johnson or Jeff Gordon had that big emotional final win there. You never know. But no, I am a definite not start on Jimmie Johnson, perhaps an avoid.
Strong.
Definitely not a start though.
Wouldn't
That's
that
hot.
be something
That
though
feels
for
like
him
a
to
hot
break
take.
that winless streak at Martinsville?
Listen, and let me go say it right on here. Jimmie Johnson, as much like most of these drivers, is a friend of mine, and he is a great person. He's a great father. He's a great spokesman for the sport. I would be happy to be wrong and see him go to victory lane. But I don't choose my fantasy with my heart. I choose it with my brain. And my brain says, no Jimmie Johnson. My heart says, man, I want it to happen.
Right.
My brain says, no Jimmie Johnson. Anyone else you want to just kick right in the kneecaps before we go? I mean, you jumped right on Jimmie Johnson.
No, I'll let you continue on now.
All right, I have another one that I'm avoiding. Kyle Larson.
Yeah, he's an avoid.
She says with certainty.
Yeah.
And if you're not watching the video, an ugly face.
Borderline disgust. Yeah,
Like, it was
certainty
the
and like
disgust. It
almost
was
kind of
no,
like us.
it's
It was
yeah.
it was like, you know, that face when you like think you ordered Sprite and they served you water and you take that drink, you're like, that's not Sprite, that's awful. Like, that's the face we just got right there. It was with disgust. It was with disgust. Kyle, if you're listening,
No, I have
with
no problem
disgust.
with Kyle Larson. Like you said, I have no problem when you talk about Jimmie Johnson. You like Jimmie Johnson. I like Kyle Larson. I just don't like him from Martinsville. Finished last 5 races outside the top 10. Not looking good for me. I think there's other tracks you can play Kyle at that you'd want to play him at later.
So I have to agree. I'm avoiding Kyle Larson. I'm trying to get all the big names out of the way before we go to props. So I think there's 2 other big names we have to get in, and that's Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr. Russell, I'm not even going to ask. We know you like Martin Truex Jr. Okay, let's start. Is there a track you're not going to say he's the guy to pick? You don't know, but it's not
Bristol.
Martinsville?
Bristol.
Okay, Bristol. So Martin Truex Jr., if you remember, had the win, it seemed, until Joey Logano took it from him with an aggressive move in the fall.
Straight took it from him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem. I shouldn't say I don't have a problem with it, but it doesn't matter. He took it from him. Oh, and by the way, won the championship. So it looked back as a pretty smart move.
It was a smart move.
So, so where do you stand on Truex? So you think you're running out of starting spots. I can't wait to get to your lineup at the end of this.
Well, I'm going out early like you. Like, I'm going to build this big lead just like you.
Okay.
And I'm taking Truex.
You know he's winless on the short tracks.
So? He's going to win at some point. What better way to win than in Gibbs equipment? Top 4 of the last 3 races there. Scored stage points almost every race.
So I'm going to counter. Just a simple question. You put him in your lineup, and he's running 9th, 10th.
I'm taking him out.
You panic and take him out?
Yep.
So when we get to your lineup at the end, that's going to be the question I'm going to have. I'm going to give you 3 of your drivers, and they're all running outside the top 5. I want to know which one you're taking out because that's really the question heading into Sunday.
Yeah.
How about you, Jessica, and Kevin Harvick?
Kevin Harvick, let's see. I'm going to be out on Kevin Harvick, actually, at Martinsville. It's not that he's run bad. He's finished 5th twice, 10th in the last 3 races. But just having not led laps there since 2016, his numbers compared to some of the other tracks are just not as good at Martinsville. So for that reason, I think, but despite the struggles that he and Rodney Childers have had this year, they've still come out with good runs and good finishes by the end of it. So I think there's some other tracks that he'll get better at and that he'll be good at this year.
I like where you're going with that. I'm kind of standing in the same situation. I'm avoiding Kevin Harvick. I'm not saying he's not going to run bad. I just think there are other tracks he's a more solid bet. I'm the same with Martin Truex Jr. I don't think he's going to run bad there. I think there's some tracks he's going to be a better bet, so I'm avoiding them. Russell, and that'll be a good chance that I can score different than Russell, which is going to be nice. But listen, it's just not about fantasy. We're going to come back and give you some more names about who you can use to fill out your fantasy lineup. But it's also the weekly bet, the props challenge. 10 props. Pick a prop. You get a point if you're right. A point goes away if you're wrong. So you can get minus. I tested that theory and went -6 this week.
Yeah, you can go deep in the minus as we found.
Apparently.
Not only can you just
so look,
you don't just
I know
enter
this is bad,
the minus,
but
you can plunge.
I didn't know what
well
my picks
below
were.
0.
I mean, I knew what they were, but I didn't remember every pick. And I was kind of watching the races, and I was like, I wonder how I'm doing. I logged in. I was like, ooh.
So which ones did you get right?
Do you want to go through my list?
Yes, I would love to.
All right. We don't
I
normally
got
do this,
+2,
but I've been pretty good on props, and I was so bad that let's just relive Fontana props for me.
Oh, man.
And you had to buy your own coffee this morning, right?
It's all red. All right,
so that's
last
only 2 right?
So the 2 I had
Russell,
right.
math,
Which
help?
Joe Gibbs
Yeah, okay.
driver would finish in the higher position? I had Denny Hamlin. And the other one I got correct. The last 2 winners have won from the pole. Will Sunday's race winner come from the front row? I said no. That was kind of a softball. I thought you could have got. Don't laugh. I got them right. So basically, I got every other one wrong.
Anyone who took yes on the poll winner thing, the front row question post Friday, shame on you.
I had with the
Shame
lead.
on you.
I mean,
That
look,
is true.
we don't have to relive this because it's bad. So, Christian, take us away. I had -6, which is not the worst of the show. You know who was the worst of the show?
Yours is worse than mine.
Nope.
I was 0.
I think
No,
non-participation
it's not.
is
I
worse.
was 0.
No.
She had 0.
No, you had DNS. You didn't even start.
But you getting -6
Can I tell the world
is
why?
worse.
Is it public? I mean,
Sure,
it was
you-
on
you
social
can
media,
tell
right?
my-
You're not private, are you?
No.
All right, so she was there because if you follow Jessica on social media, she had a big engagement party, getting married this year. So we'll give you, for your party and the wedding weekend, those are the only 2 weekends you're allowed to miss. Other than that,
All right.
we expect
That's fair.
participation.
No bachelorette.
You can get the picks in earlier that week, so
That's
I know
true.
I don't think so.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. Christian, you're quiet and bragging over there. Where'd you end up?
I wouldn't call it a brag, but I came in at like a 0 or 2. I was 5 and 5, so 0.
5 and 5, 0.
Solid 0.
Yeah.
Russell?
I was +2.
Leader of the couch. All right, well, so let's jump right into it. It's a great bet. You call your buddies. It's a week bet. I did go on the leaderboard. There were some 10s this week, more than last week.
No. It was tight. This week and last week were both tough ones for people. I think we only had 6 10s this week, so it wasn't just us struggling with it.
So
some people did figure it out, but I think this week we've got some awesome ones at Martinsville, some ones we haven't seen before. So I'm pretty excited about what's on the slate.
New strategy. I haven't looked at these. We're going to discuss them right now, and I'm going to put my picks in right here at the moment on the podcast.
you
My
get
picks
them
are
in.
going in
Love it.
because
I
I think
need
I
to
might
do
have
that.
changed some. So, all right, take it away. What are our props this weekend? Tell
All
me
right.
some good ones.
Yeah, I'm going to jump around. I'm going to lay out a couple that I really like. First time we've seen the JTG Doherty camp show up in a prop. So which driver from that team will finish higher, Chris Buescher or Ryan Preece?
I answered the question before you finished it.
So-
I'm taking the guy with very little Martinsville experience.
Really?
The short track racer Ryan Preece. Listen, and this is why I watched the Xfinity race. Didn't watch. I covered. I was in the booth for the Xfinity race at New Hampshire, where this guy ran the apron on the restarts and made up ground. And I'm telling you, short track racing is a different mindset, and he has the mindset. And I think he's going to beat in banks. I'm going Ryan Preece. I'm all in. I see the nod from Russell.
Absolutely. He's actually in my fantasy lineup, too.
Ooh,
In the
Really?
garage.
man,
but yes.
don't win. You're getting ahead, but
I'm
that's
sorry.
interesting information.
Oh, that scares me.
Oh, boy. All right.
So you were Buescher?
So she was Buescher.
I was Buescher, and not because I think Buescher's going to be
2 sugars, 2 creams. In my coffee next week. I just wanted to.
I don't think Chris Buescher is going to run like in the top 10. I don't think he's going to contend for the win. But if you're talking who's going to run better, I think Buescher's probably a safer bet just because of Preece doesn't have the experience at Martinsville. You talked about Martinsville needing that light to click.
Yep.
Do you know that light is clicked for Preece?
Okay, how can I politely say this? I'm not even going to politely say it. No, but I know it hasn't clicked for Chris Buescher.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'm not knocking Chris Buescher. He's a nice guy, good race car driver, but he's done nothing there.
Right.
With some history, not in best cars, but he's been outrun with guys with equal equipment than him. So I just think it's Ryan Preece.
Yeah.
And Priest has competed
And let's
there
be
before.
wrong. Let's be clear. I was -6 last week, so it's not like I'm, Nostradamus or nothing. But I'm saying Ryan Priest.
I'm more shook by the fact that I think Russell's holding out on us in fantasy intel because he just dropped. I didn't hear
Then
Ryan
he's putting
Priest's
Ryan
name come up
Priest in
until
his
I brought it
garage.
up. Yet
6 weeks
this
in, and
never
you learn
came up. Yeah.
They named streets after Russell.
Russell, my man, you're on the couch to help all of
No,
us.
there's gonna be a second island. We're gonna have a chain of islands. here
I
soon.
think we're gonna have to.
All right, so I like that one. What other props bet you got?
Kyle Busch, 3rd win in a row.
No.
Okay, cool.
No,
Moving
I mean,
on.
here's why I say that. Do I think he can win? I do. But if I said, hey, let's do a bet. I'll bet you a cup of coffee. You get Kyle Busch, I get the field. That's not a good bet. You take
Yeah.
the field. There's too many ways to lose the race. That's not a knock on Kyle Busch. Probability would say no.
I totally agree. I would say the one caveat is
Caveat. That's impressive.
You like that one?
That
The
was
one
good.
caveat is I know the word caveat. No, if you're playing in the side pool with these props with some of your friends, for me, that's going to be one I'm not going to play because I think his odds are good enough of winning the race that I don't want to take a hit
That's
on a
fair.
negative point. If you're playing in this props challenge, we've seen you got to play all 10 and swing for the fences. But if you've got side action going with a group of friends, sitting that one out.
Hi, Christian.
That's
I'm Steve.
fair.
Nice to meet you. I've never met this guy over here with such great strategy. I like this. All right. So there's our Kyle Busch bet. What else you got?
Over under 4.5 Fords in the top 10. I know that number probably feels high to you guys, but
No, I'm
It's a
going
tough
through the
one.
drivers in my head.
yeah.
You got to
Clint
think
Boyer, Joe Logano, Brad Keselowski. Lock.
Blaney.
Not a lock.
Not a lock, but a good chance.
But we got to get to 5. The over-under is 4.5. So the over is 5. So I can give you Brad. I can give you Joey. I can
Right.
so say I give you Boyer
All right.
and Blaney.
All right.
You're going to have Harvick too.
That's true.
I like Blaney there, though.
I'm going under. Here's why. Because let's take 10. That's what you're saying, right?
Yep.
10 cars. I got at least 2 Chevrolets. Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch. Arguably, there's a third out there. I got at least 2 or 3. Man, I'm talking myself right in
I
there.
think that
4.5.
argument, that
4.5
approach
is
actually
such
puts
a good
more
line.
Fords.
That
Yeah.
is a great line.
That's what I was going to say. If you just try to name the Ford drivers, I think you talk yourself into the under. If you start trying to fill out the top
that's a
10 with
great
the other
line.
manufacturers,
A
I
plus
think you start
line on
coming
that
around
one.
on
4.5
Ford.
is a great line.
It really
3.5 would be an easy over. I think there's going to be either 4 or 5.
Thank you.
Yes, so do we. That's why we set the line at
That's
4.5.
why it's 4.5.
Whatever.
Put your pick in, man. You don't have to tell us what it is, but make sure you get that one in.
That one's a coin flip,
the Hendrick,
honestly.
the Hendrick guys, Chase or Jimmie, higher finish.
Chase.
Chase.
Cool.
Chase.
You hesitated.
I know. I wanted to pick Jimmy
His
so
heart,
bad.
his heart was right there in his sleeve.
Which team is?
How about
gonna,
this? How about this? Here's some research while he's talking. Show me the last race that Jimmie Johnson outran Chase Elliott anywhere. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'll lay down a few more props for you in the meantime. Which team's going to have the highest finishing driver, Gibbs or Penske?
That right there is the one I'm avoiding. I'm not touching
one
that one.
is-
That's a dead coin flip.
Yeah.
That's a dead coin flip.
Yeah.
And here's why it's a coin flip. I'm going to remove Eric Jones. So you would say Gibbs has a better chance because they have 4 cars, right? Remove Eric Jones. So you're basically saying Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. versus Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding that one. I'm out. Okay. I'm skipping that one.
Keselowski, top 5 finish.
I
Yay
would
or
say
nay?
yes.
I went no.
Really?
I went no.
Why?
Same theory as the Kyle Busch thing. You know, I think he could run top 5 pretty easy, but I would say, how about this? He doesn't score top 5s in 50% of the races over the course of the year. So the numbers alone would say, what's a good year top 5 number-wise? Good year's what? How many top 5? 13, 14, 15?
Oh yeah, that's a really good year.
13. So there's 36 races in a year. So a third of the races in the top 5, 12, is a good year. So I would never take the over that somebody's going to be in the top 5 at a race, ever. I'm just purely talking on my coin flip, right? We're not getting odds. We're not getting minus numbers. We're not.
Right.
No, we're
This
not.
isn't Vegas cash
The only
money,
other
it's a prop.
context that might sway you, it doesn't sound like it'll sway you, might sway some others, is that his average finish over the past 4 races at Martinsville is 5. So it's right there. You know, you're kind of judging his Martinsville-specific track record of late versus as you so.
Listen,
you
and
know,
I'm going
so
to pick on
eloquently
you,
laid out.
but these props have improved greatly in just 6 weeks. This game I had a way better chance in Daytona. These lines that are being set are A-plus lines.
Yeah.
So I'm avoiding the one before that, but I'm taking Brad outside the top 5. All right, what else you got?
This might be my favorite one because it's the newest. It's another new one we haven't seen, and I just really like where we're going. Again, this is kind of the props prop of the week in my mind. Over under 11.5 drivers to score stage points in Sunday's race.
So when I read it, I was like, what are they talking about? So let's do it real quick. There's 20 points paying positions, 1 through 10 at the end of each stage. And basically what you're telling me, I'm going to try to simplify this, and please check my math. But you're telling me that there will be no more than one different driver in the second stage than there was the first stage.
Correct.
Right?
10 guys will score stage
one
points,
ends,
guaranteed.
There's 10 names. So the over-under is 11.5. So if one new guy enters the top 10, it's under. I'm taking the over.
Over for sure.
I think it's the over for sure. But to your point, I don't know the history. But my gut tells me, man, it's gonna be like 2 or 3 new drivers that rotate into the top 5. Over it is. Gavel.
I would go over. I think this is a really fun prop because it's not one that don't bother looking into the history or trying to dive into the stats to see what stage points are. Make a decision, see where it lands, and we'll go from there. We've got another over-under on lead changes, 13.5 lead changes on Sunday. The average over the past 6 at Martinsville is 13.7. So
I've been
we're
wrong
right
on
there.
lead changes every time this year. I still want to call it the over.
I think over.
Still saying the over. I mean, listen, I don't have a good reason other than
Kind of a gut.
well, we just list 6 drivers that can win.
Yeah.
When I think of Martinsville, I think the track rubbers up. So as a crew chief, you don't really want to be good in the first 50 because you think, there's kind of people that come and go on old tires and new tires. So I'm going to go with the over.
What about green flag pit stops there?
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You can run. I should check my math, but I think you can run the first 2 stages on a tank of fuel. I could be wrong there. I have to look. What are they?
140, I think. 140, 140, 260.
Yeah, so if they're 140, you can go on a tank of fuel, so there's not going to be a green flag either there. And in the final stage, no way they're running green flag there. No way.
One more over-under for you, 500-lap race, over-under 2.5 drivers leading 100 laps.
Under.
There'll
be 2 guys for sure, but not 3. I think the better line would have been 1.5 because two would have been a hard guy to do it.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. I would have made it over under 1.5 for 150 laps or like 125 laps.
Well, some of these are already pretty tough, so we got to put some
clear.
freebies out
Let's
there,
just be
right?
clear. I got 8 wrong last week, so I sit up here with a lot of. I don't lack confidence on my prop
do you
bets.
Need to be on the
maybe
island?
you should sit on the island. I was just going to say maybe we should all be doing the opposite of what you say.
All right. I'm taking the under. All right, that's pretty good. I like it. There's a few more on here. I don't think we need to go through them all. Go in, log in. Which team will have the highest finishing driver? I'm avoiding. The past 3 winners at Martinsville have not started inside the top 5. Does this trend continue? I kind of got to see qualifying for this one.
You got to see where they line up. Yeah.
If I put my picks in, can I go back and adjust them?
Yep.
Okay. Well, then I'll put in no and assume they're all going to qualify good. I'm going to assume they're all going to make a lap this week. And I got my 9 picks in. All right, that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to enter it with only 9 picks. I don't even know how I do that. It's just in, right? I've never had to not pick them all. Do I have to do anything special if I don't want to pick one?
No, you're
No.
good.
Leave it blank.
Just avoid. It'll lock right around the start of the race.
All right, see, we're helping the fans out. That's how you do it. You don't pick 9. All right, there it is from the island. Props Challenge. Just a reminder, every week the Props Challenge resets. It doesn't carry over. 10 props will be set. You pick them. You get a point if you're right. You lose a point if you're wrong. You don't have to play all 10. You can play against everyone in the league. There's a leaderboard every week. Prizes are awarded to the highest finishing people in the whole group. But more importantly, and I think the most fun, is find some friends. Go against your friends. Challenge them. We have a cup of coffee bet here. Luckily for me, I have free coffee for a while. A little expensive this week with my -6. But I think we're still arguing that Jessica's did not start might be the loser in this. We'll have
That
to see.
is not the loser. -60. That you're definitely
All
the
right,
loser.
all right. That's a loser. So let's jump right back into fantasy. We hit all the big names, I think, unless I missed some.
No, I think you did.
If you're
I think you missed some.
Oh, boy. I didn't say must picks. I said big names.
What about Kurt Busch?
He
helped me last week. I think he's going to help me again this week.
Real quick. Let's set the stage. So the strategy is either you play all the big guys or you do a little hit or a mix. But to mix, you got to have guys. You got to have sleepers. This is no different than every other fantasy league, right? How do you win your fantasy league? With some sleeper picks. So let's go right into sleepers. These are guys that you think They might not be at the top of everybody's head, but you're going to consider them. You're going to get to nominate Kurt Busch, first one in the sleeper category. You're up.
Kurt Busch.
Yep.
His first win.
I knew that, but what, you got more or just that?
Oh, more?
What are you going to? No.
Blaney.
What about him? About Kurt? What do you got? You got more about Kurt?
Yeah, his first win with Stewart-Haas was at Martinsville. This will be his first win with Chip Ganassi. My only thing with Ganassi is they've never won at Martinsville, so that scares me a little bit.
I would argue they haven't had the right lineup to win at Martinsville, though. Have any of their drivers ever? Is Kurt Busch the first driver to ever sit in their car that has won at Martinsville? Look at that. You see his head shaking? Whoa. Has any Chip Ganassi driver?
Like that.
Jamie Max never won it.
Right.
How about the Chase Elliott, Jimmie Johnson thing? Did you get that answer?
Yeah, Johnson, 2 races ago.
Really?
Really?
Phoenix,
How
he
quickly
outran
we
Chase.
discount. Oh, yeah, when he had the revolutionary 8th place finish that changed the world.
Well, he still outran him.
My mistake. You're correct. I'm not discounting. So let's go through this. Jimmie Johnson, no at Martinsville. Jamie McMurray, no at Martinsville. I'm going through my Chip Ganassi drivers. Kyle Larson's a no at Martinsville.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is driven there?
I don't think we're going to have a good Sterling Marlin.
No.
Juan Pablo Montoya.
No. My point is, I understand what you're saying about Chip Ganassi Racing, but neither have any of his drivers. So this is the first time he's ever employed a driver that has won at the Paperclip. This is the in-depth type coverage these fans expect, Russell. So you're saying yes, you're sleeper Kurt Busch.
Oh,
I'm in
absolutely.
on that. I'm in on that. All right. Little concerned because it's Chip Ganassi equipment, but we're going to see if he makes your lineup later. Do you have a sleeper in mind over here?
Well, Russell mentioned him a little bit, and I don't know if he's much of a sleeper, but I like Ryan Blaney for this week. The third Team Penske teammate. Just looking at his numbers, he led 145 laps in this race last year, finished the last 3 races in the top 10 at Martinsville. So I like Blaney if you've used especially a lot of Keselowski and Logano. He's probably a good third option. I've actually used Blaney more than either one of them, surprisingly, so I'm probably not playing him this week.
I think that's emotional because he comes in and does the podcast here for NASCAR, and you get a little like, if I run into him in the hall, I want him to think I like him, so I play him. That's what I think it is. No?
No.
Am I looking too far into this?
I pick with my brain, not my heart.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right. So I can hear that. How about the island? Because I got 3, so I'm going to wait to the end.
Question from the island, and it kind of pertains to the conversation about Jimmie, a little bit about what we were just talking about. Kurt. Like. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to lead the witness really specifically here.
Okay.
Martinsville as a track, where does that fit in terms of all the tracks we go to of trying to weigh driver skill and driver success at that track versus organizational performance and the equipment they're in?
So if you would make the statement that, let's just say the baseline is 50-50. You got to have a great driver and a great car. You got to have them both. I would say when you go to Kansas, it's 70% car, 30% driver, because no matter how good you are as a driver, and this is just my opinion, you can't drive it if it's not fast. That exactly flips at Martinsville. Now, you can't take the best driver in the world and put him in a piece of junk, and he's not going to go win. But driver 70% at Martinsville, car 30%. Says a lot for a guy that's won there twice. Shows you how good my cars were. I had 70% driver in both of them. But I really believe there's just – and here's why. No car drives good from lap 1 to lap 100 on a set of tires. It just doesn't, right? There's new tires, old tires, hot brakes, cold brakes. There's driver adjustments. I know they took away the track bar, but they can still move brake bias all around. So I think that's an excellent question, and I think that's why you've seen Jimmie Johnson win 9 times. It's a driver's racetrack. That's why you've seen Denny Hamlin win 5 times. Jeff Gordon win so many times. That's why and I'll even go further, that's why an organization gets great. So Jeff Gordon wins and sets the baseline. Jimmie Johnson obviously knows what he's doing. You put him in that same equipment, then he can do it. Then you put Chase Elliott, and then he can do it. So it's kind of – it's hard, right? You need a great driver to kind of steer you in the right direction. But I'm like 70-30 driver. Long-winded answer, but that's my vote.
No, but it's good info, and I think that helps inform some of the ways that I'll evaluate some of these guys. Kurt, Clint, Jimmie even. All those guys stay as like more attractive place for me. Maybe not Kurt because he's been good this year, so I think you can use him other spots. But Jimmie and Clint all of a sudden become – hey, if this guy's won here, knows how to maneuver around this track in particular, and isn't that strong this year, like his stock at Martinsville, in my mind anyway, is much higher than it's going to be at 80% of the tracks we have left.
So you're leading this witness into my sleepers. Are you ready? Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman is a bull. Ryan Newman is like he is the hardest guy to pass. He's relentless. He is the most non-emotional, doesn't get upset. That's what he expects out of everybody. That's what he expects out of himself. His numbers are he won there in 2012, top 10. So I'm with you. Look, I'm not saying he's going to win, right?
Right.
Although, do we have Vegas odds this week?
We got Vegas odds. We should talk about the guys who are going to win.
So we might come back to some Vegas odds. But let me stick with my sleepers. Ryan Newman, top 4 of the last 7 there, including last fall. I mean, he's a grinder. He is the guy, like when you're picking for dodgeball, you're like, I'll take the kid that runs fast, that jumps high, that runs high. And who's the kid that's just always around? Him. Ryan Newman, he's my guy. So there's one of my sleepers is Ryan Newman.
You sold me on that one.
I'm sticking with Team Ryan and Ryan Preece for the exact opposite reason. We have no snapshot. We have no experience with him. He's driven, but it was an underfunded team. He's never been in equipment like this at Martinsville, but his entire pedigree is this. It's short track, beating and banging. Remember, he did it with the ground pounders, the modifieds, with no fenders and those tires sticking out there. So if you can beat and bang with those things, you definitely put some fenders on it. It's like boxing with gloves. It should be no problem. Easy.
And Allmendinger ran well there in that equipment, too.
Always does.
He did.
Although I put that on Allmendinger. I think his brake usage, being a road course driver, was excellent, and I think that's where he excelled. You get later into a run, he could control the brakes. And my third guy, Alex Bowman. So this flips. I think Alex is okay there, but that car runs well there. In Greg Ives, you asked about Kevin Mendering. Greg Ives is the opposite. He was raised by Chad Knaus. And I don't know how many of the 9 Jimmie Johnson wins he was there for, but I'm sure it was a bunch. He took over the team that was fortunate enough to win there with me and Dale back in 2014, and he has continued that success. And if you look at Alex Bowman, finished 7th in this race last year. So while that was his only top 10 at the track, I do think that, he's an outside the top 5 guy. He's a 6th to 10th place guy.
This one's emotional.
This
one's not with his head.
He's like talking about the ADA, going back to victory lane. He's getting emotional about it.
Yeah, it was a good story, but you're not putting Alex Bowman in your lineup, and I know you're not going to.
No, I'm not going with any sleepers.
Yeah, all right,
I'm swinging for the fences. So all right, that was kind of our sleepers. Let's talk about some avoids. Big name avoids, Eric Almirola. I have him on my must-avoid list. You're staring at me like big-eyed. Like
I agree. He's the one.
You're shocked we either agree or you think I'm dumb. I'm not sure which it was.
I'm shocked you agree with me, but I did send you those notes. So
that's
called
ugly.
You out.
It wasn't technically him. It was his company, but not him. I would not get the notes from him. I get it from one of his employees who may disagree with him. That's the only chance I get with new information.
He's run really well this year, but when it comes to Martinsville, I think it's a different
maybe
animal.
Maybe I clicked for him.
All right. Well, how about maybe this is one of the 2 most iconic numbers to run Martinsville, the 24. Chad Knaus, 9 wins. I know Jimmy has 9, but so doesn't Chad. William Byron, Martinsville. I am stand firm on this one as absolutely not. Because just experience. Gosh darn it, he's just a nice kid, and they don't like him, right? I mean, my joke is he just. I know they're drivers, and they all get in, and they put their helmet on. It doesn't matter if you're 6 foot tall or 5 foot tall. Like, none of that matters. But I just think he's still too polite behind the wheel, and it's not a polite – look, this is a drunken bar fight, right? You're going to have to be able to swing a bottle if you're going to get up through the field, and I just don't think William Byron's that type of driver.
Chad Knaus helps him none? His truck experience there doesn't help him at all?
He
ran well there in trucks?
I'll be honest. I think I will be pro William Byron in the fall.
Okay.
So Martinsville's very hard to practice. The track changes, and it's like, so I'm a big golf guy, right? And I think to believe you can hit as many balls as you want on the range, but when the Masters comes in the middle of April and you're in contention on the final round and you make your turn and you go through amen, like it doesn't matter how much you've practiced. Standing on that tee, looking at that famous green and that body of water that the best have hit into, that's a moment that you have to do poorly before you can prepare yourself to do correct. No different. We talked about the closing laps of the Daytona 500, right? Why was Micah McDowell not there for Joey Logano? Because he didn't know. He had never been there before. Same thing. I think Martinsville, until you do 500 laps at Martinsville, you have no idea what 500 laps at Martinsville is like. So that's my negative to William Byron. So I do think Chad helps give them a race together, though.
So do you think you talk about William being a little –
I get scared when she counters with a question.
No,
I get really scared.
Well, you talk about William being a little too polite. So do you think a driver's aggression is something important to look at when you look at drivers?
And respect.
Okay.
It's going to be a fight for the bottom. So here's what I think. So picture this, right? We're not talking the top 5 or 7th, 8th, 9th, right? Kurt Busch. We'll use Kurt and William Byron. Kurt's running. William's trying to get down, right? If he if he pulls down in front of Kurt at the start-finish line, if that's Jimmie Johnson, Kurt checks up and follows him down in the corner. If it's William Byron, he hangs a left and he drives in 6 inches underneath the guy's left rear quarter panel and sends him up the track and, like, could care less. And that's real. Like, I'm sorry, that's real. Like, that I've seen it. When Dale Jr. was injured in 2012 and we had Regan Smith in the car, we went to Charlotte. We were a top 5 car. And I witnessed firsthand he did not get raced anything like Dale Jr. would have got raced. Those guys were moving him around on restarts, and I believe that's going to happen to someone like William Byron until he goes in there and sends Kurt Busch up the track. And then he's like, oh, all right, maybe give him a little bit more room. And if you don't think that's real, go back to my Ryan Newman pick. Because let me tell you, nobody going to hit Ryan Newman.
No, they're not.
All right, so that's what other avoids. We talked about Jones. We talked about Larson. I think that's all the big ones. Bubba Wallace, I'd love to tell you because I know he's won in the trucks there, but it's just the Cup car has not been good. We can go through all the reasons, but does anyone here disagree on Bubba Wallace?
Nope.
All right. Well, then let's jump right in. We're going to come back and we're going to get everyone's lineup. But first, we talked about props, but if you're in Vegas, what about a little bit of wager? Let's talk about the lines for the guys to win in Martinsville. We go back to the island to discontent. What do you got? Who are the favorites? Let me guess. Kyle Busch.
Correct.
And
all by himself.
At what? Like 3-2, 5-1?
Yeah, 8-5.
8-5. 8-5.
8-5. Yeah. So it's not great. You're not getting good value on that.
8-5. What's my quick math? That's worse than 3-1.
It's
really
less
bad.
than 2-1.
Yeah.
So 8-5. So he's out. That's a bad pick on your money.
Yeah.
All right, give me some odds
we
on.
calm down a little, so then we go Truex Kez at 5-1, Logano 7-1.
I don't like any of these odds yet. You have yet to excite me.
I think I'm getting there. Denny 10-1. Do anything for you? Not Russell.
Might be a little safe
That one-
bet.
I like it. I like that one.
I like Denny.
That's all right.
I feel like he's the closest you can get to a confident winner pick with the best odds.
Here's the thing: you have to pick the winner.
This is for
Right.
the
Well,
this
I'm
is
not
for
going
the
to
This
win.
is not
Less
top
than
10.
2-1?
Fantasy
No
picks, yeah.
way. So this is the first one that I would consider. Denny 10-1. All right. You're not way off there, but there's some names I haven't heard.
So
I'm
for
getting
comparison, Clint is 10-1. So that's like what I'm saying.
I like Denny over
Denny
Clint.
10-1, far better investment.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Harvick 15-1. I just think we're all out on him as a serious race winner.
I am
contender.
agreeing.
I'd take him over Boyer, though.
Yeah, but would you take him
Yeah.
over Hamlin at 10-1? That's the number.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, no one's
wouldn't.
taking Boyer at
You
10
could take
to
a
1.
stance. No, you wouldn't.
With your money, but not my money.
I don't have no money. Not for you to gamble with.
Not anymore.
I'm
Not
buying
after,
coffee.
not after a few weeks of this show.
Mine
Yeah.
is 6. I'm buying coffee.
Blaney 20-1. I don't like it, but I like his counterpart at 20-1, Chase.
Actually, I like both of those.
Man, those are kind of intriguing.
You told me
odds.
he's going to run for the win like 10 minutes ago. We're going to
Those are intriguing.
These guys are going to
odds.
run it back.
Yeah.
For,
No.
for
So
all of
I
us
like them. I'm
eventually,
just
yeah.
trying to debate which one I would take. I would take Chase. Because I think he's going to be the best Hendrick car. I don't think Ryan Blaney would be the best Penske car. There's my downfall. I would take. So right now you got a little bit on Denny Hamlin and a little bit on Chase. You got to have some long shots in there. Please tell me Jimmie Johnson's not like 25-1.
We are going to fly over Kurt and
What is
Almirola
Kurt,
at
though?
25-1.
25-1.
And I'm going to hit you with this can just be a weekly segment if we want it to
Is
be.
this the Jimmie Johnson
Jimmie
35
Johnson.
Johnson annual investment
$10
update.
Yeah, right.
Opening at 30-1.
So I'll be honest. I like Kurt Busch better at 25-1 than I do like Jimmie Johnson at 30-1.
Yeah. But if you're taking the Jimmie Johnson investment,
Then you have to stick with it.
30-1.
You can't
Yeah.
stick with it because
Yeah.
you know what happens if you're in and then that's the week.
That's
You
the
can't-
week.
Yeah.
That's the
okay.
week.
All right. So how about I know I can see your thumbs twiddle. You must have some great long shots over there.
No, I'm just laughing because I like Jimmy at 30-1 so much better than Kurt at 25-1, and a wise man once said I would rather burn money than put it on Kurt Busch to win this race. I can't think of his name, but
He's
someone
gone.
said that
He's
recently, and it
And
sticks
what
in-
happened? And he lost that bet.
yeah.
Just to remind you, his was I'll never take Kurt Busch, and he lost.
Well, he doubled down in a very unwise way, but he was right. Kurt wasn't even close to winning that race. I don't think he comes close to this one. 30-1 on Jimmy with his record at this track. I'll take it. I like it in the portfolio of the Jimmie Johnson Annual Investment Fund.
We got to find the next thing we have to find is a good sports book that has some sports books in Vegas have a heads up bet. So it'd be like Kyle versus Brad or this guy versus this guy. But that for maybe for the next few weeks, we'll try to find some heads-up bets.
We got those, and anyone out there who is in those places where you can put them down or you're looking at these things, drop us a comment on YouTube, whatever. Hit some of these guys up on Twitter. Let us know what's out there that you guys are interested in playing. It'll be interesting, for us to see from the fans.
So you don't have Jimmy at 30-1. You had me at Busch at 25-1.
I honestly don't like the rest of it as we get further down. I mean, Larson 50-1,
No.
Eric Jones 60-1, Suarez 80-1, and Newman.
There it is.
Hello, Newman.
80-1.
80-1.
Yes, absolutely. I would be on that action.
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
Look, here's why. How many NASCAR? Chris Buescher won at Pocono in the fog. Right. I mean, Trevor Bayne won the Daytona 500. I'm talking about guys who had never won. Ryan Newman has won for every organization he's driven for. He has won at a variety of racetracks. He has won at Martinsville. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you. Before, I would take my $10 Jimmie Johnson annual investment fund at 30-1, and I would move it over to the 80-1 for Ryan Newman.
Give me, I would take someone else out there's money and drop a 20. I would throw 5 on Denny, Chase, Jimmy, and Ryan, and pay a nice $20 fee for entry to have a little excitement as I watch the race with a massive payoff and a safe hedge.
It's better than a lottery ticket. I guess this is what I'm saying. I don't want you to go out there saying, oh, Stevie says he's going to win. No. What I'm saying, though, is your odds are better than buying a scratch-off ticket. Right? Go put $10 on them at 80-1. $800 would be a big windfall. All right. I like that. Those came from the Westgate again.
Those are the opening odds from Westgate. You can find them on NASCAR.com with a little additional context in terms of guys' records at the track, their best finish, et cetera, and then check back after practice and qualifying wraps up. We'll open those up, or we'll update those. As they move throughout the week.
Which, let me tell you, if you threw, I bet $10 would move the line on Ryan Newman. They'd be like, they're betting on him. Move the odds. Move the odds. So that's basically where I think we are and everything. But now it's the time where we love. It's the put up or shut up. You got to tell me who you're really going to start. And Russell, I don't know why I asked you because you changed your lineup Sunday morning anyway. How about you over there? Where are you thinking to go? Are we going favorites again?
So we're going to go a heavy favorite lean, but I like Martinsville as one of those tracks where I think it's sort of this combination of somewhere between a crapshoot and an embarrassment of riches in my mind, if that makes sense. You don't know what's going to shake out. It's a bit of a wild card, but there's a deeper list of guys with really good success. So I'm going to lean on the favorites. You want my lineup right now? You want me to hit you with this truth?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go Kyle Busch, Brad K, Denny Hamlin, and Chase for sure. I'm gonna coin flip on Truex or Boyer, and I'm going to roll with Jimmie Johnson in the garage.
All right, I like that. It's a little bit of risk involved, but I like where you're at. Russell, who do you got?
I got Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Preece in my garage.
All right, so I'm going to challenge. What's the over-under on those positions where you're going to go to Ryan Preece? Forget a wreck. The wreck's an easy one. Well, so 2 questions. Give me your lineup again.
Kurt Busch.
Yep.
Keselowski.
Yep.
Chase Elliott, Logano, and Hamlin.
Keselowski and Logano are in a wreck. Which one do you pull out for Ryan Preece?
Depends if any of them
I asked that because those are the first stage,
hard.
no points. They're both going to be a crap score.
Then I pull out Keselowski.
I asked because this is what the fans are doing, right? This is what they're trying to do in their lineup. I want to know where you're thinking.
So I think if they don't score stage points, if something happens early, I put Preece in.
Stage points, whoever has the most stage points, you lean on.
Yeah.
All right, I like it. How about you, Jessica, from Martinsville? What do you got going on over there?
I'm doing heavy favorites, but I'm varying a little bit from what I've been doing, so my usages aren't bad for these guys. I've got Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, Chase Elliott. Garage either going Truex or Kurt Busch.
So this is where I stand today. My for sures are the 2 and the 22, the Penske teammates. Denny Hamlin's a for sure. Chase Elliott's a for sure. Kyle Busch may be in my garage because it's just a usage situation. I've used him 4 times, so he's the one I'm not. I wanted to say Clint Boyer, but I don't think I am. I think I'm going to stick with the hot hand and have Kurt Busch in my lineup. So I think he's going to be 2 Chevrolets, the 1 and the 9, 2 Fords with the 2 and the 22, my Toyota with the 11. And then the garage is going to be either Kyle Busch, don't love that, might save him, or I'm going to go with my man Ryan Newman. And here's why. I'm not going to play Ryan Newman a lot of other places. If I'm putting Ryan Newman in, he's either A, having a good day, or one of my other guys have had an issue. That's why I don't like Kyle Busch in my garage. So I think I'm going to lock it down. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go 2, 22, 1 car, 11, 9, and my man Ryan Newman in the garage.
There you go.
I'm going to put that in.
What about your bonus picks? You've done pretty well lately on the bonus picks, I must admit.
So the bonus picks, I am going to see how they run in practice. If they run like I think they are, and to key off Jessica's momentum, I'm going Kyle Busch heavy. It'll either be 2 or all 3 stages. I'm done splitting the manufacturer with the winner. Whatever manufacturer I have winning the race as a driver, I'm putting it in as well and going for the total bonus. For qualifying, I think I'm going to take Joey Logano. I think he.
So do you set these picks after qualifying, other than the qualifying pick?
I do my bonus pick Sunday morning. I try to remember to do them Sunday morning. I've been good this year.
Qualifying bonus pick, you go gut feel, you watch practice speeds. I mean, it's
so
some of that's
normally what happens is I
depending
get busy on Friday when they normally are, and I text Russell, and he lies to me about who is fast, and then I pick the wrong guy. Schedule this week is Saturday, right?
Saturday, after the truck race we qualify.
And after practice.
So
there's no more practice.
Practice is Saturday morning.
So what I'll probably do is watch the truck race and put all my bonus picks in. And see if I got to go change him. But right now, standing here today, it's going to be Joey Logano unless somebody does something crazy in practice because he is a good qualifier there. So.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. That's Martinsville in a nutshell. As always, this podcast is available on all the major platforms. Subscribe on iTunes, rate and review. Let us know what you're thinking. If you need more information for your fantasy lineup throughout the weekend, you can always tweet myself, Jessica, not Russell. He's boring. Twitterless Russell has nothing. Tweet RJ as well. Even though he's at spring training, I know he'll be studying to see what lineup he needs to have. And tune in next week. We're going to talk Texas, go from the short half mile to the high banks, or at least one high bank of Texas Motor Speedway.